Wow, that was quite intense, wasn't it? There's a couple of answers there that I was not expecting, or not. I was thinking, well, I wonder what it's going to be, and oh wow, yeah,
Very good. You know, generally, what I find is that the higher self, I can talk to the most talkative people, and then we get to the higher self, and it's very matter of fact, I'll give you the answer, and then that's it. So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
wasn't it? And wasn't it? I mean, as you know from doing the shows, I can gab for hours about all sorts of stuff, and yet the higher self was it's this, and that's it.
yeah,
Fair play.
yeah, and even to the point where there were some things that you weren't allowed to know.
Yeah, yeah. I got a glimpse of a name in the Mayan time, um, but it wasn't enough to say the name
Mhm.
confidently. It was like a knowing of a name as such, but that was it. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay. So I was kind of given a half glimpse of something else, but it was then pulled straight back. But the castle was really visual, really visual. So it was a square grey blocked, and the squares or the blocks were uniform, proper squares, not oblongs, and it was grey, and they were like a granite, and they were curved at the front,
all right.
and it was a very very tall castle. And there was two towers, and I was taken between two towers in the middle of it, and yeah,
It's
flew.
going off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No wonder I don't like heights.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you get the sense of how many people threw you off? Was it a couple of guys or what?
Three.
Three? Mm.
There's three. Yeah, two either side and one behind to make sure I went.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the one behind had a sword or a spear or something that was some sharp implement that was yeah,
yeah. Because
yeah.
when you're doing the high, obviously the higher self work is not we don't go investigating past lives, but they're things that we could also, when you go into the past life, it's when it gets really interesting and
Yeah, yeah.
you get so much information. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good, very
No,
good.
that was thank you very much for offering this and the opportunity to do so. And obviously, audience, Gordon's a trained professional, so don't try this at home. But I'm pretty sure that if you contacted Gordon, he'd be more than happy to help you out in your future needs. It's
Mm.
not an advertisement. I just, wow, I'm a bit blown away by it. So thank you very much, Gordon. It's put my mind at rest about certain things, and I kind of got it was divine timing that I needed to hear the message, even though I kind of knew it already, and my higher self had portrayed some of this to me. To actually have this done in this format
Sure.
is like it's the underline, isn't it? It's just like the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's a strange loop that people are in when they are the higher self and yet they're still themselves. And quite often, I've seen people have messages from the higher self that are so beautiful that they start crying as themselves, but they're the higher self. It's a weird little loop that gets in, but sometimes they're so poignant the messages. How did hypnosis feel?
um, very gentle is
Mm,
all I can say. It's very gentle. I don't know what I was expecting, and I wasn't really sure if I was actually under hypnosis or not.
sure.
And obviously, the system that you used obviously took me to different levels and layers. And obviously, when you said it connects your higher self, well, the higher self was a white light, right, a white orangey light. It was like white with orange, almost like a flame, but not. It was like a white inner with an orange, but it was like you know um, a tulip shaped. So before a tulip opens up, you get that
Yeah,
lovely
yeah.
tulip shape. Um, so yeah, and I was thinking, well, is that really the higher self, or is it? You know what you mean? You think,
It took you a
well,
while. You see,
yeah, yeah,
you're thinking, yeah, but
yeah, yeah, and then it's like, well, okay, let's go with it and see what happens. A leap of faith almost.
yeah,
And as soon as I took that leap of faith and let go into it properly, then it came in, and it came in a different way than I was expecting, perhaps. But I don't even know what I was expecting. That's
Right.
the thing, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it was just like, how can I put this? It's a bit like my knowings. The Wizard of Oz, Mel, she often says to me, "Well, how do you know? Do you get a voice? Do you get?" And it's just no. It's like I'm speaking through myself, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's myself speaking, but it's not me speaking, but it is,
Yeah.
because we are all connected and we're one.
Sure.
But it's a difficult way to explain how I personally get it. So,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm doing a show with Richard, yourself, or anyone else, and sometimes it's like someone will give me a word, and it just and the word's really loud. It's like someone just shouted at me. It's like, oh, okay. And then another time it would just be a like, oh, and I'll just open myself up and say what I've,
Yeah.
you know, connect somewhere else, say what I've got to say, and come back. And then I can't remember what I've said
Okay.
because it didn't come from me.
Yeah.
Even though it came out of me, it didn't come from me. So
Mm.
that's quite an interesting one for me
Mm.
personally.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone's different. Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own personal connection to their higher self.
For sure, yeah. And the way that I see the process, especially when you haven't done it before, when people are kind of, the hypno junkies that people become like, oh, I like hypnosis, I'm going to go there again. Then they get into it straight away. But it's almost like, for me, I see it as you're standing on a lakeside and your hypnosis, you go and you dip your toes and you're in, and then the more questions I ask you, and the more that you start to tell me what you're aware of, the deeper you go until that's it, you're submerged, And I
Yeah,
could see that in you at the beginning was like, okay, I'm getting this message, but as we went on, I could see that I could hear more of the higher self, the reality of the higher self. Yeah, it was kind
yeah,
of, yeah, I
yeah,
know what I'm doing now. I know what's happening,
yeah.
and this happened. Yeah,
Yeah, I felt that as well.
yeah.
I was unsure about the first message, and I'm thinking, well, that's a big message, that one,
It was massive. Yeah,
Yeah, when you first came in here, well, I came in here at the beginning, it's like
save the
eons.
universe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's quite a strange one to come out with, isn't it? That's not. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting that. I came in at some point, and I just happened to, but no, I was always meant to come in here, or chose to come in here to do something. And
Yeah.
but the other thing I did get, that I didn't express at the time that I was shown, is that time is not time. And what do I mean by that? Even though I came in eons ago, eons could be 30 seconds ago to us,
Sure.
or
Sure.
it could be 300 million years ago to us. And that's what I got very much, that our conception of time is not relevant as such to what was answered, which is, but I've been here for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting little side note on this one. Used the pendulum the other day to ask some questions about time. Now, with tarot cards and pendulum, time is literally impossible.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You get feelings. You might get cards come out that have got a four on them, and so it could be 4 months, 4 days, 4 months, 4 weeks, whatever. 4 years. And so I'm having a conversation with my higher self with the pendulum, and I said, "Do you know what a day is?" And I got, "No, I'm living days." And so I went back to history, and I know that a Shah is a turning of the stars. So in the early days of humanity, certainly in the Mayans and stuff like that, um, the Mayan long count is a day.
Mhm.
So it's a Shah, it's a turning of the stars. So I thought, okay, so I'll try this. I said, "Do you know what a Shah is?" I got a yes. So the higher self knew what a Shah was, but didn't know what a day was. So as once we then had this mutual understanding of the time concept of what I'm asking again, and when I asked in days again, I got nothing. But when
Mhm.
I asked in Shahs, I got answers, and I thought that's quite an interesting thing because
Yeah.
of what the higher self and the understanding I got from that coming through again.
Yeah.
So so for anybody out there that does the pendulum or cards, asking shards or turning of the stars, as in as a day and a night, a day and a night is one shar. That might help people in the future. And I don't know if it's just for me or anybody else, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the image that as you were talking about about time, because again, the emissaries talk about that they don't have perception of time, or they say time doesn't exist, time's not important, so whatever.
yeah,
Um, and it's like a wheel, almost like a wheel. This is what I see, a wheel, where they're in the middle, and all of the times are just round here, and you can access them. You can access anytime from the beginning to the end of this wheel. And so for them, it's like, well, it's all happening at the same time.
yes, yeah,
it's not going back in the past. It's just going to the left or going to the right or going forward.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and that's my understanding of it. But I also see it as like a twister, a
Yeah.
tornado,
Yeah.
as in it spins. And when you get closer to either the end that way or that way, and I'm not sure yet, I haven't worked this one out, but the twister goes to a point, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
And I think that point is our perception of time. So we're at the bottom of the funnel of
Okay.
of so if you imagine like a sand clock, the sand pieces where you've
Yeah.
got
Uh-huh.
runs through hourglass, aren't they? That's what it's called, an
Mhm.
hourglass. What I see as time is the hourglass is the bit in the middle,
Yeah.
and either side is everything, and it's only that little bit in the middle that we actually have the perception of, and that kind of makes sense to what you were just saying.
Sure. Yeah. And that
But I
ties
don't.
very much like the toroidal field where we pass through that narrow bit, which is what it feels like at the moment. Like, whoop.
Yeah, yeah, and we certainly are in that narrow bit of the toroidal
Absolutely. Yeah.
field. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah,
So listen, Gary, now that you've experienced hypnosis, at some point in the future, if you wanted to do a past life regression,
yeah.
that we could do that. My and I think what's fun about the past life regression is you've got specific lives, but the unconscious mind, what I found is that when people go, unless I would want to specifically go to that life, but if we just leave it open to the unconscious mind gives you the higher self, gives you the most pertinent life that you need to see for this life. And
Yeah.
it's always this incredible contrast that you get. So we could do that. And also, because there's something you said now, I wanted just to say that I've done future life progressions as well.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah, and they're just the same, just as easy to do, but people go forward, and
Yeah.
I've had some really interesting experiences with people going forward.
Because if we're actually talking about and believe what we're talking about, as in time is fluid and there's no past or future, there just is, then there should be no difference between going backwards or forwards.
There isn't. There's
Fundamentally,
no difference.
no.
There's no difference. Yeah, I've done it. I even did it with my daughter years ago, and it's probably the most viewed video that I've got on my old channel, a future life progression, because people say, "Well, how can you go forward?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, I that sounds a really interesting sort of thing to be doing
Yeah.
because obviously it'd be interesting to know if see once this realm's sorted out, and it kind of we're getting there now.
Hmm.
Once this realm's sorted out, do we always stay here, or do we go somewhere else, or is this kind of the consciousness that we wanted to stay in, and we enjoy this? Do we go elsewhere? Do we take a break out from the human body, or some other kind of being's body? How there's a lot of questions there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And I've what I'm aware of is that listening to your higher self, the indication is that you've always been coming to this particular plane.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
from the
feeling.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that.
That's exactly what I was told. I said, have I been to, another, and they said, no, you're earthbound, that this is where your work is always. It's always
Yeah,
has been. But what happens when I started doing past life regressions in the, let's say in the 2000s, early 2000s, everybody went to a past life. Everybody went to a past life on the earth here. And then there was this shift, and 50% of the past life regressions were in another place, another planet, another, not on Earth.
Yeah.
I thought that's really interesting that, and what they were saying was that that was because of they had to bring in other beings. We needed help here because we weren't following, we weren't going as fast as we needed. So they had to bring other beings. And what I found is that these beings that were always in these beautiful places, having a beautiful experience, all, using their psychic powers and everything, they're completely fucking traumatized here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I've been fortunate enough to meet some really interesting people, and one of them that I met several years ago was not from here, was not from here in any way, shape, or form, and the abilities they had were like, even for me, I was like, do you know what I mean? The things they would say, the things they would tell me, it would just be like, this is like the Oracle out of the Matrix. This
Uh-huh.
person's telling me stuff that is like, and it's come true. The majority, I mean, the stuff they've told me was, they before I'd met Mel, they even described Mel to me precisely,
Right.
exactly what she'd look like, who she was, the kind of personality, the kind of person she was. And I'm thinking, yeah, 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 yeah. And I think that was like 2 or 3 years, nearly 2 or 3 years later, I met her. So, you know what I mean? It's one of those, whoa, But they said to me that they really struggle to stay in this body.
Sure.
And I used to think, what are they talking about? You know what I mean? Because, you know, for 4 years ago, I was not this person.
Mhm.
We change very, very rapidly. And you get to a point where suddenly things go click, 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 and whoosh. You know what I mean? You start to, how can I put this? 1 to 2 and 2 to 4, you think's a big step.
Yeah.
But when you're further along that doubling, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 is a lot different to 1 to 2, and so you parabolically go up on the curve. And they were saying that they were really struggling to stay in this body, and they would often feel quite ill and unwell. And sometimes they would actually look green, and their face would start to kind of a bit like the green screen does. It's like a bit like this, and then
Morphing.
yeah, and then they'd be back again. And you think, did I just see that? Or didn't I? And that was definitely somebody who had not been here before or enough times to get used to the density of this realm.
Yeah. I mean, that's what that I found in all of this work I've done with people. That's what the one of the biggest shocks that they get is the density. It's so heavy here. And of course, they agree to come when they're in this beautiful light and bright and yeah, I love God. Yeah, I'm going down there. I'm going to help. And they get here, they go, what the actual
Yeah,
is this?
yeah, yeah,
So I think those people that haven't been that they're here for the first time, which happens about 50% I've found, they're they always talk about feeling very, very difficult and very sometimes depressed, almost wanting to unlive themselves.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a friend of mine who's not been here many times, and he struggles. He
Uh-huh.
struggles with the density of it all, and it he knows why, because he knows he hasn't been here many times, but it still doesn't help you having the human experience in a density like this when fundamentally the majority of who you truly are is struggling.
For sure. I mean, no amount of people saying this isn't real, this is just a matrix, and then somebody bunks you on the head, it hurts like buggery. No amount of shut up with it. It's not real. I've got an egg on my head now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's very, it's kind of you're trying to be in two places, which is you want to be the Buddha and say, oh, yeah, all is peace and all is love, and the reality is if you go outside without shoes on, you're gonna get your feet's going to hurt, you know? So it's kind of like it's a difficult one to try and find a balance.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I think that's probably the key to why potentially those that have been here longer, because although we've come in here I mean, for me, I get the feeling you've been here for a long time and all.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever done a past life regression yourself.
I've
Um,
done loads, yeah, I've
yeah,
done.
yeah. So I am assuming that you've been here a long time. You chose to come in here for something or other, and you've been here a while because you seem very grounded, which is the only way I can describe it. Grounded to be in this density now, yeah. But there must have been, we must have been something else previously to come in here.
Oh, for sure.
As in, our higher self is energy. From the way I see it is energy. I don't know. Is that how from your experience of this, do you think that the higher self is is an energy of such? Is that your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough to say it is this, but it generally appears energetically, generally. But I think if we understand that everything is energy,
Yeah.
everything, that connection is energetic. The connection beyond that is energetic. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because for me, this density realm, it has to be dense to give us the illusion
Yeah,
of physicality.
sure.
Because if it wasn't dense, then we would be then light beings.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Which is so the higher self is sitting in a zone that is non-dense
yeah.
and allows it to be move around, do whatever it needs to do in a consciousness,
I agree. Yeah.
and it's lighter.
Let me add something to that, which is why when people talk to me about how to connect with the higher self, why we go into hypnosis is that to connect, we've got to raise our frequency up because there's such a divide between the higher self and us. It's so dense here that the higher self can't come down. It
No.
can't, or if it does come down, it's worthless because the density is too heavy. So we have to meet them halfway. That's the whole point. That's why, and that's what I said to you, you take a breath, you sit, you close your eyes, and then you ask. Instantly, you're raising your frequency. Are you coming out of your body? Your etherical body is going up and it can meet. And that's why often it's a whisper. That's why it's a whisper. And for when you get these messages, and sometimes they're loud, like a shout, you mentioned
Yeah,
this, yeah? You're out of your body and you're already making that connection, or it's so important that the higher self, it's how I say it's like it takes a plunge, it plunges in, it shouts, and then it has to go back because there's a massive cost for it coming down so deeply into this density.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, and hopefully the audience listening to this can start putting a few bits and pieces together about their higher self, working with their higher self, and
Mm.
and the voices or the knowings that they have, and trusting in it, because it's about, again, if we look at the beginning of the hypnosis, was I probably trusting in the process? Probably not.
No,
By the end of it, I was fully trusting, immersed, and just allowing the flow, and that's very obvious, and this is part of our journey as well to connect to the higher self. Is it doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. It's a process that takes some time.
for sure, yeah. And another important thing to understand is that the higher self, when it communicates with us, whispers. And it whispers because it can't get that close. It can't get that close just because of the way it is. So it'll be a whisper. But what I've found is that the whisper comes first. We hear the whisper, and then our mind says, "Well, that's bizarre. I'm here to save the universe. Well, that's a bizarre thing to hear, isn't it?" And what happens is we then either we nullify it, we dismiss it, we deny it, or we override it with the conscious mind. It jumps in going, no, no, that's just a mad thought that I've had and blah, blah, blah. What we've got to learn to do is to trust that we ask a question, the very first answer that comes is the right one. And then everything after that is just us overriding it and
Yeah.
denying.
Yeah, it's the brain coming in, the
Yeah,
consciousness saying, nah, no, you're crazy. You're
can't
crazy.
be that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, another little story. I'm very friendly with Love by Jenny Tarot. And I'd never ever had a tarot card reading done until probably a year ago or so when I first met Jenny.
Uh-huh.
So I'd wanted a tarot card reading done, but hadn't found the right person. And there's lots of very, very good tarot card readers out there. It just happened to be that I was drawn to Jenny. Okay, and say so. This isn't, there are, there are other TV channels out there. People, there's other brands of. But so with Jenny, um, I'd watched her and watched her and watched her, and I got the little knowing that she was the one, and there was something else about her that the energy was a good connection. You know what I mean? It synced in, and I thought, okay. So I contacted Jenny, arranged the Zoom, and I was meant to be her second to last client, but ended up being her last client. So it was open ended, and I was like, oh, that's good because if there's something that comes out of this, I hope there is because of. So I've been given a load of knowings, thoughts, things that were like, it makes sense, but am I clinically insane? Am I
Mhm.
schizophrenic? Am I mad? Am I in some kind of delusional fantasy? What's going on? And so I got to that stage where I really needed to. I needed to know this. This needed to know. I didn't need to know, but that did the
Sure,
brain.
sure.
So I had this meeting with Jenny, and she's pulling the cards, and it's just a general kind of reading, and it's all going lovely, and very interesting. And she said, "Have you got anything to ask me?" And I think I had four questions, and they were just one word things, like what's the singularity, except, weird stuff that no one would know what it meant. I knew what it meant to me. So Jenny's pulling the cards and they're flying up in the air like when she shuffles, the card that should come out jumps out of the pack, literally
Okay.
physically jumps out. It's amazing to watch. And so the card jumps out and we're having this kind of and of course that led to things that led to something else that led to and that then led to the next question and a 45 stroke hour consultation ended up lasting 2.5 hours
Wow.
and Jenny was going, I never expected this today, I never expected this today, but I needed it for this
Yeah.
because it confirmed to me what I was thinking because there's somebody I've never met before, I've never had any contact with before telling me exactly what my higher self had told me previously,
Yeah.
you know, and so, um, and obviously we've been friends ever since, it's just like you don't go through an experience like that and not have a connection again.
Mhm.
Um, and it's that confirmation that we all need sometimes. The higher self and us and our connection and the things that we're thinking about really are correct because we're brainwashed in this reality to be locked into a cage
Yeah.
or a box that we're not meant to go outside the box. This is your life. It's almost like the Disney princess thing, isn't it? The girl grows up, meets the prince, and then they have a lovely, happy ever after life, and it's all fluffy and roses. The great American dream that everybody was sold in the 60s, 70s. It's all that kind of thing. But when you start thinking in a different way, and not the way that the controllers of the society want you to think, it's very difficult on the mind to sometimes come to terms with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's something that I wanted to mention. I know let's have a look what time, I don't know what time it is. Um, Something I wanted to mention just for people to have in the mind as well. In my experience, I've been doing higher self work, past life, higher self work for the last 15 years or whatever. What I've discovered is that when people ask the higher self questions about themselves, they get beautiful, wonderful concordance and answers that make sense, etc. When they ask him about anything else outside of themselves, then things start getting a bit weird, start getting a bit scatty, and they get. I've had people who've asked questions about other things, uh, sometimes about world events and dates, and what came was rubbish. You know, so what I've discovered, and this is, this is, I'm not talking about people who have the gift to be able to see things and get information. I'm just talking about us. Our high self is an expert on us. It knows everything and much more than it would ever share with you about you, but it doesn't know about other things. That's not its remit. It's not its job. Other beings have information about that, but not your higher self. So you've got to ask about yourself only. And you can ask you about yourself and the relationship you have with somebody. That's fine. But you can't ask about the other person.
No,
That's not their job. Yeah. So you've got
no.
to be very careful with that.
And that's exactly the same as the rules in with the pendulum, right? So when I was first shown and taught the pendulum, I say taught, given these rules, it's like yeah. And of course you break the rules straight away,
Of
don't you?
course
Because
you
you go,
do.
don't stick your finger in there. Well, why, what's going on? Bzzz. And the person who first got me into the pendulum was a lady, and she got a pendulum out, and she said, asked the pendulum. She was very, very good at the pendulum, very, very gifted. And she said to the pendulum, "Does Donald Trump fancy me?" And the pendulum said yes. I went, "Wow, that's amazing." She said, "No, it's a load of shit." She said, "My higher self is trying to please me and stroke my ego, so it's given me this answer." And I was like, "What?" She said, "How could I possibly know what Donald Trump thinks about me when I've never met him? He's never met me. There's never been any contact. It can't be."
Yeah.
So it's my higher self stroking and give me the answer that the higher self thinks I want to have. I was like, okay. And so she said the key is to dial that out of the pendulum so that the pendulum doesn't give you answers that are false because it wants to please you.
Sure.
And that's exactly what you just been saying with the higher self of, oh, past life regression, or future life. Am I going to meet Donald Trump and will he fancy me? And it's like, well, come on, you're not going to get an answer out of that because the question has, it's a,
It's a matter of respect as well. It's a respect thing, which is what I've discovered because I use idiomotor signaling. So I'll talk to my higher self, I'll talk to my unconscious mind, and I'll also talk to my body wisdom. Yeah. What I discovered, this relationship is something you build over time. It's a confidence, respect relationship. The more that you do it, and the more that if they tell you to do something, you do it. If they say that you shouldn't eat something, do not eat that. Then you start really getting this great relationship where you can trust the information. But if you ask it stupid questions, you get stupid answers. It's
yeah,
garbage in, garbage out. And the respect is lost, and so you can't trust the answers from then on. You've got to then work. Hang on a minute. Sorry, apologize. I'm sorry. I'll do it properly this time.
yeah,
So it's a serious business. It isn't something you can be flippant about and go, is the next door neighbor having an affair with his secretary? That's not the questions that you can
no,
ask.
no,
Yeah.
no, I agree. And when people first do tarot or first do pendulum or any kind of divination, obviously it's like, well, I wonder what, I wonder what this is, I wonder what that is.
We've all done it.
Yeah, yeah. But that's also the connection to your higher self but some people, their higher self connects to or has the ability to draw in information from the Akashic records or whatever you want to call it. And they can, and in my experience, I've not met too many people that can do that. And I'm very fortunate to say that some of the best ones I've ever met are my friends. You know what I mean? And so again, it's that drawing together, and I tend to do shows with them. So the people I do shows with tend to be the for me and the vibrational frequency of me, the best people at doing what they do.
For sure. There are some people that have a gift where they can access things beyond what the normal mortal man can, but when you've got that gift, you know you've got that gift.
Yeah,
So if you know you haven't got that gift, just stick to you. Just stick
yeah,
to
yeah,
you. Yeah. And
yeah,
go and see
and
them if you want to look beyond that.
yeah, yeah, and sometimes I'm allowed to do that, and sometimes I'm not. And
Right.
so I do sometimes do pendulum, program, but I only do the pendulum program when the pendulum tells me I can do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I went to just do a pendulum program because I wanted to, the answers would not be of the same quality as if I said, should I be doing this? Should I? And again, sometimes on videos, I've got ideas on videos, and I say to the pendulum, should I do this? No.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then 2 days later, something comes out which is pertinent to that video that gives me the extra bit of knowledge that finishes that video off. And it's like, that's why he said no.
Yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think the whole journey into this communication that is so important. It's such a beautiful when you've opened up that connection, and that's what hypnosis does as well. When you've opened up that connection, your life completely changes. But you've
Yeah.
got, it's a very sharp tool, and you've got to be careful because you can cut yourself with it as
Oh
well.
God. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Because I find if I mean, we did a show recently that called it the Higher Five with Isabella, Jenny, Richard, Irene, and myself. Now, in those circumstances, my pendulums are useless. My higher self will not play the game and is not interested. It'll give me knowings and little downloads and little nudges, but for me to use a pendulum in that group, it won't happen because
Yeah.
my higher self is like, well, why on earth would you want to do that when you've got four of the most talented, skillful people around you that have got more ability in their little finger than you have in that respect in your whole body. So
Yeah.
why would you want to play with that?
Yeah.
And why would you put yourself in that position?
Yeah.
So it's about also learning your limitations and your abilities and when to do stuff and when not to do stuff.
Absolutely. And you find that when you do the higher self, it happened to you. Ask a question, and you're not allowed to know that.
Yeah.
And there can be, and I've tried to push them, sometimes, like, well, is there anything? And they say, well, no, because that would, if he knows that, it will actually damage the plan that he's working on. It will hinder his plan. So that's why he's not allowed to know, And so now when the higher self says you're not allowed to know that, I would say absolutely fine, thank you.
Yeah,
Super.
yeah, yeah. And I got that very much with the Egyptian question. It was like, and it did actually then give me a tiny bit later on, didn't it? But
With
but
the pyramid, yeah.
but no more. And and I kind of know why. I've got a good idea why I should say of why it wouldn't, because as you just said, it could affect future things that happen in the future. That and again, this is a public. My higher self is very clear that this is going out to the public and it's going out to anybody who can see this. And if the wrong person saw too much information, it may give them the ability to stop or change something in the
Absolutely.
now. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if that was a private session, if the information would have been stopped or not. Hmm.
I get the impression probably not.
Right. Okay.
Probably not. There's and I get little glimpses and I get little half glimpses and I'm just about to step through the door to see what it really is and it gets shut straight away.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know?
Yeah, yeah. But listen, Gary, it's wonderful. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
go off and do something else, but that was fab.
Thank you very much.
Again, the office open, and maybe we can do it a little bit later on.
Yeah, yeah.
A future life regression. I would suggest you start with the past life regression,
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
get into the feel of it,
yeah.
and then the future life. Yeah.
That sounds amazing, and I would really love to do that. And thank you very much for offering to this to me and the opportunity to do it. I mean, I really am blessed with the people
You're
around me, and
more than
Gordon, you're
welcome.
just a star. I just can't express my gratitude towards you for this. So
Thank
thank
you.
you
Thank
very
you, Gary.
much.
Okay, Gary. Well, lovely, and thank you to everybody who's been with us, and we'll see you again.
We will. Love, light, and blessings, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.